The Anchor and the Kite by Lullaby Libraries. In the sun-drenched meadows of ever May, Elias spent his days chasing echoes. He lived in a world of wooden swords and imaginary dragons, where time was a circle and tomorrow was just another version of today. It was a life of pure lightness, as buoyant and drifting as a kite without a string. In this place, no one expected anything from him but a smile and a story. But as the seasons turned, Elias felt a strange, heavy hollow growing in his chest. The toys that once brought him joy now felt small in his hands. He realized that while the kite of boyhood was free to dance, it could never carry a traveler across the sea. He stood at the edge of the harbor, looking at the great deep, wondering if he was meant for more than just play. An older man named Caleb approached him, his hands calloused and his eyes bright with a peace Elias didn't understand. Caleb didn't mock the toy boat. He simply pointed to the massive galleons anchored in the bay. "The meadow is safe, Elias," Caleb said softly. "But the ships were built for the storm. You must decide if you wish to remain a passenger of the wind or become a steward of the sea." Caleb explained the beauty of the boy. "In boyhood, your heart is a garden of wonder," he said. "The pros are the lack of worry and the gift of imagination. But the con, Elias, is that a boy lives only for himself. He consumes the fruit of trees he did not plant, and he cannot protect those he loves because his strength has no direction. A man," Caleb continued, "is an anchor. The pro of manhood is the power to be a foundation, to build a home, and to provide shelter for the weak. The con is the weight. You will feel the pull of the tides and the strain of the rope. But a man does not run from the weight. He finds his strength by leaning into the one who created the mountains." Elias took his first step toward the horizon by laying down his toy sword. He realized that to become a man, he had to stop pretending to fight and start learning to serve. This was the first practical step, the intentional surrender of selfish comforts. He packed away the things that only served his own amusement to make room for the tools that would serve others. Caleb handed Elias a compass and an ancient map. "The second step," Caleb whispered, "is to seek a master. A true man does not follow his own heart, for the heart is a shifty current. He follows the heart of God. To have a heart after God means to love what he loves, justice, mercy, and humility. You must study his map every morning before you set your sails." The third step was the hardest, the labor of the hands. Elias began to look for the needs of his village. He carried water for the thirsty and repaired the fences of the widowed. He discovered that a man's hands are not made for grasping, but for giving. In serving those smaller than himself, Elias felt a new kind of height, not the height of a kite, but the stature of a protector. Years passed, and Elias no longer stood on the pier looking out. He stood at the helm, looking forward. He had traded his wooden sword for a heavy oar and his kite for a sail. He was no longer a boy of the meadow, but a man of the great deep. He knew that true manhood wasn't about being the loudest or the strongest, but about being the most faithful. As the sun rose over the vast blue, Elias bowed his head. He knew he was a man because he knew he was a servant. He lived for the captain of the seas, finding his joy in the hard work of love. The transition was complete. He had put away childish things, not because they were bad, but because he had found something far more glorious. A life lived for the glory of God.